off my stage.
I think that every single one of us has had a time in our lives when we did not feel as beautiful as our friends. And that can be a very awkward and a very unhappy time. So how many of you have ever had the feeling that you were an ugly duckling? That's about a good portion of the audience. The ugly duckling feels that the ugly duckling doesn't fit in with the cool crowd. The ugly duckling feels that you weren't good enough or pretty enough. And I'll tell you something, those memories can leave lifelong scars. And that's what our guests are going through today.
Growing up for me was awful. I was overweight and ugly. The kids always teased me in school, but nothing hurt quite as much as when my dad made me feel ugly and told me that I would never amount to anything. I haven't seen him in 13 years, but wait till he sees me now.
I was a really unhappy kid. I was fat, depressed, and I thought no one really wanted to be my friend. I hit rock bottom, but one person stood by me. She was the sunshine to a gloomy life. I've changed a lot since then, and I just want a chance to say thanks, and look at me now.
I hated high school. It was so lonely. I was tall, skinny, and I had a huge nose. I was an ugly duckling and never had a date. But now I'm good looking, and I wish that I could see my high school crush, Jack. He was such a hunk. If I could see him now, I would finally have that confidence to ask him out.
So I want you to meet my first guest. This is Honey. And I just said to Honey, Honey, this is a show about ugly ducklings. As you can see, she is turned into a beautiful swan. She is no longer an ugly duckling. But there's some pain left over from those younger years, and it hasn't gone away. And I understand that, and I always said in my family, oh, I'm not the pretty one. And you felt that same way too, right, growing up? Yes. How did the kids treat you?
They were pretty brutal. They used to call me a lot of names. They used to, I couldn't leave my house without having rocks thrown at me. I used to take the garbage out and they would wait for me around the corner, jump me, beat me up.
All because of what?
I was ugly. I was overweight. I was really fat, really short hair, funny teeth, and I just didn't look like everyone else.
But so much so, kids can be so cruel, so much so that they would do that to you?
They were very brutal. It wasn't just name calling, it was physical. I would get beat up a lot. Our house would get egged, toilet papered, you know, all kinds of things.
And the names?
I remember some people saying stuff that the only way people would play with you, or the dog would play with you, is if they tied a bone around your neck. You know, fatso, you're so ugly, why don't you just go kill yourself? You're just so fat.
Did you try to kill yourself?
When I was in grade 5, I did.
Why?
I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't have anyone to stick up for me. No one ever stuck up for me. My mom worked and she didn't really know.
Did you have a dad?
No. He wasn't around.
I think it's harder if you don't have a dad around.
Right? You're supposed to have someone there to protect you, that you can go to.
Where did your dad go?
He left before I was born, and he came back when I was 3, but he didn't stay for very long, and then he left again.
When was the last time you saw him?
When I was 13.
Oh, and you were at that time big, right?
Yeah, I was over 200 pounds. When I was 11, I was 205 pounds.
How much weight have you lost?
I've lost a total of 140 pounds.
Show me. That's amazing. What made you lose the weight?
People had made me feel like a loser my whole life, and that's what I felt like. And I just had got to a point, I couldn't be a loser. I'm not going to be a loser anymore. And life is going to change, and I'm going to be better than all these people said.
But that's what gave you the will to go on and to do something. You said you saw your father when you were 13? Mm-hmm. What happened?
I was at When I was 13, there was a lot of stuff going on in my life. It was a really, really hard time for me. I was getting into a lot of trouble, and I needed him. No one else was there for me, and I thought if anyone, the last person to give me some hope, to be there for me, would be him. And I met him, and it wasn't good.
What happened?
He told me that I wasn't going to turn out to be anything, that I was pretty, but I should really lose some weight. You know, I wasn't gonna be anything. I wasn't gonna turn out to be anything, and he was my last hope. I always thought, when I was a little girl, if I was pretty, that he would have been there.
My father would love me. If I was pretty, my father would love me. When he did not love you the way you wanted to be loved, how did that affect you?
It hurt me. It just tore me apart because he was my last hope, and after that, things just went downhill after that with my life. It just became really awful. I didn't care anymore. I didn't care if I died. I just didn't care because he was the last one. There was no one else.
And you haven't seen him for 13 years. You got your life together in order to be, you lost 140 pounds, you grew your hair, you were very lovely young lady. You really are. You have to take it from me. Isn't it? Where's your life now?
I work in a gym. I'm a fitness consultant for Fitness World, and I help people now. I try to give them their hope, their self-worth back. I try to help people do that. I've been with the same person for 6 years. We're getting married. Don't you feel like a winner? Yeah, I do. I do. And for all those years that I felt like such a loser, I do. I feel great now because all those people that told me I was a loser, I waited my whole life for a moment like this to let them know that I'm not.
You are not a loser in any way, shape, or form. Not. You're beautiful. You have a lovely man who loves you. You're going to get married. You've got a good job. So what's left?
Well, I have a 3-year-old son, and a couple of months ago I was at the gym and I had a really bad incident. A gentleman died in my arms. And right then was kind of a turning point for me because I thought life is so short and you could be gone just like that. And my dad will never know how I turned out. And I want my dad to be there for me, and I want him to be there for my son. My son is so beautiful. And I want him to know that I turned out.
Now, when Honey told us this story, there were some problems. Her father lives in England, and it's been 13 years. And we talked to him, and he came all the way from England, and she knows that she's going to see him. This is not a surprise reunion. But how do you feel?
I'm scared. I'm bitter. Like, I am hurt for him not being there. But I've grown a lot. And
Can you tell him that you're hurt?
Oh, yeah.
Could you? How's he going to take it?
I don't know.
Brian, come on out.
Speechless. Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Isn't she gorgeous?
She's gorgeous.
Please sit down. Why don't you tell him what you've wanted to tell him?
And when I saw you there, when I was 13, I really needed someone. And you weren't there, and I really needed you, and you did. I felt awful after I saw you. Because I looked for you as the last person for my hope, and you made me feel even worse. That I wasn't going to turn out to be anything, that I was ugly. And I looked for you for hope. You just weren't there. And I really needed you. And it hurt a lot. And I blamed myself for so many years that it was my fault because I was ugly because you weren't there. And if I would have been pretty, you would have been.
That's the important part. Can you explain to her that you're not being there is nothing to do with you thinking that she was ugly?
Well, absolutely, because, I mean, I just wasn't there, so I saw her the first time when she was 3 years of age, and she was a beautiful 3-year-old girl, and due to circumstances...
But you know what? I don't take that excuse.
No, I'm not using it as an excuse.
I know what you're saying. But it's what kind of circumstances can keep you from your kid?
Well, I have other children, and the fact was I'd left... Oh, wait a minute. I'd left to go to England prior to her being born. Prior to Honey being born. And that was an established thing. I mean, her mother was fully aware of that, and I was. I came back to Canada, because that's where I lived, from England, and that's when I saw her for the first time when she was about 3, I believe. And due to circumstances, her mother and I never got to back together as a couple. We had a relationship, and Honey was the result of that relationship. And then her mother went off and carried on with her life, and I carried on with my life. The next time the contact was made, I believe you were 12 or 13.
I found you. I was the one that went out and found you. I lived in the same house for 13 years, the same phone number, and I found you by just looking up in a directory.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want now? What can we help you with? What do you want now?
I have grown. I've changed a lot over the years, and I can accept that part, and I can deal with that part. But what
Because
I
we
want
can't
now,
change it, can
that's
we?
right. Nothing can be changed, and I've finally understood that. I have a child now, and I've understood that what I want from you is to accept me as me.
Oh, absolutely.
Honey, you told our producers you have a special request for Dad. What's the request?
Okay, I waited my whole life for this, and I swore that when I got married, I wanted my dad to walk me down the aisle.
We'll be right back. Coming up next, you know, she used to be an ugly duckling. She never had a date in high school, and they're knocking down her door now. But her only regret is that she never had the guts to ask out her high school crush. What she doesn't know is we have him here, and he has a little surprise for her. We're going to find out what right after this. So what is this thing about not feeling good about yourself? So what is this thing that sometimes we're the only ones who think that way or have it inside us? And how awful it can be. I want you to meet my next guest, or guests. This is Tina, and Tina's sitting next to her younger sister, Dawn. Tina, you know how, I don't have a sister, but I know enough about sisters. There's one that always feels that it's the ugly duckling, right? There's the pretty one and the ugly one, and yet to us, they probably look exactly alike. And the most painful part of this was that she was always jealous of her sister, Dawn, right?
Yeah.
Tell me why you were jealous of Dawn. I mean, to us, you look like two lovely people.
Dawn was in high school, was the blonde hair, blue-eyed, you know, girl, just very pretty, had boyfriends and things. And I didn't have boyfriends, and I was 4 inches taller than everybody else by the time I was a freshman in high school. I'm 6 foot tall and really thin and gawky looking and nerdy and just...
You're painting a beautiful picture. Knobby knees.
Yes, knobby knees and long arms. I felt like a skinny grape ape.
Did you know that she was going through this pain?
Yeah, I did.
You did? Mm-hmm. What did you think about it?
I felt bad for her, but I hate to say it, the way that high school is, you get in your own cliques, and it was different at home than it was at school, and I think I pretty much ignored her at school, and I feel really guilty for that now because I didn't realize what a beautiful person she is on the inside. It doesn't matter what you look like on the outside, and it took me a lot of growing up to realize that, I think.
Tina, even your family was hurtful to you?
Because I wasn't the norm. Like my parents would buy me funny little gifts or like a stuffed bra or something because I'm not well endowed, or things like that. T-shirts that said logos like I belong to the, I don't know, itty bitty committee. That's what it was called. And I mean, that was for my, I mean.
You didn't hear that. You were just standing there. You didn't hear that.
That was for my sweet 16 birthday, though. I mean.
And you don't realize how much that hurts her until now, you know.
Right.
And
those
the
things
kids
stay
did
with
the same
you.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there somebody in your love life?
Yes. But when I was in high school, I had a crush on somebody. His name was Jack, and I was the president of the Thespian Club, which is like the little acting club in high school, and he was the vice president. So we worked a lot together in plays and in projects for the school, and I just always had a, you know, the schoolgirl crush on him.
He was the best looking guy in high school. He was very hot.
He was.
He was very
good
cute.
looking. He had a nice body.
Why do you have a crush on the BMOC instead of, you know? Oh, well, that's hard, right?
And Jack, he played Conrad Birdie in that
Bye Bye Birdie.
Bye Bye
Yeah.
Birdie. So we always, you know how the girls have to get around him and say, "We love you, Conrad." You know, for Tina it was like, "We love you, Conrad." It was not a problem.
Yes, we do. We love you, Conrad. Da, 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 da. So this guy never paid you the time of day, but we find out he's the hottest guy in the school, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, what would you say to him if you saw him?
Mostly, look at how I've changed. I'm not shy anymore. I used to be really shy and introverted, and like she said, I didn't go to dances or proms or things like that, and I would go now.
Okay.
I've
If
changed
he
a
asked
lot.
you, you go to the prom.
Oh yeah.
How old are you?
28.
It's a little late for prom.
But she never got to go to a prom. That is so sad.
Gosh, I got to think of a prom. Well, I do have a surprise for you. Mystery man, come on out. Well, well, well.
Wow.
Jack. Tina says she was the ugly duckling in school. Was she the ugly duckling in school?
Yeah, well, you know, to be honest, I never really paid much attention to that. I don't know. I mean, I always thought Tina was a good friend of mine, and I mean, when we'd hang out together and you know, sort of be friends, I guess I never really thought about you in those terms.
See, he didn't know you were the ugly duckling.
You didn't know that I had a crush on him too.
Did you know she had a crush on you?
No,
Did
I was
not.
too busy being a foolish teenager to really pay much attention to that.
Did
but,
you know you were the hottest thing in high school?
also, no.
You did not?
No, I don't
How
know.
can a guy be that popular and not know that he was that popular?
Well, you know, I wasn't like the most popular boy in class or anything like that.
That's not what they're saying. They're
Well,
He
saying
was hot. In my yearbook, you guys, I looked him up in my yearbook, and next to his picture, it says,
Isn't that great? How long since you've seen each other?
Oh, well, we met briefly last year at our high school reunion, and we talked for a little while, but before that, it had been, you know, 10 years since I'd last seen you.
I left Helena immediately after I graduated from high school.
Just to get out of town.
Which is not a bad idea, really.
Out of, no, at any town. It's
Yeah,
not
it
only
was-
Helena. What do you want to tell her if you haven't been talking for a lot? At a reunion, you couldn't get to say much.
Oh yeah, it was kind of, you know, noisy crowd, but I thought then that you looked great. I mean, you,
Changed a lot, huh?
yeah, actually.
Did you recognize her at first?
Well, you know, it took me just. I think you actually had to tell me.
We'll be right
Neither
back.
of us are married.
Next, this 13-year-old feels so fat and ugly, she's convinced she's never going to go out on a date, she's never going to have a boyfriend. She calls herself an ugly duckling. But what she doesn't know is we're going to turn her into a beautiful swan. And before the show is over, she's going to get asked out on her very first date. You don't want to miss this.
You are the five. Get off my stage.
Okay, let me tell you what we're going to do. This is going to surprise you, Tina and Dawn and Jack. You have not a lot of time. And I asked if you would ask her out on a date, and you did? Okay. We're going to get you off the set right now because we don't have time. We're going to send you to Bellows, which is a very romantic restaurant.
Oh, good times.
And you two are going to have a lovely lunch there. And there'll be music, and there'll be a table in the corner for your sister. Okay? Go ahead, go. Go. Yeah. That's how I did it, all right? This young lady said, why was her sister mean to her in high school, and now that she's beautiful, she's not? And I said, don't worry, we'll send the sister over in some corner. We'll take care of it. Now here's another problem dealing, you know, a little more seriously on the same line. This is Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi.
And Bonnie's with her 13-year-old daughter, Amanda. Amanda, you look very grown up for 13. I think that's a compliment when you're that age, right?
Thank you.
It's not a compliment when you're my age. But Bonnie called the show because what?
She's going through a real tough time right now. She's a lot bigger than most girls her age.
How tall are you?
5'7".
Almost 5'8".
5'7", 5'8". Yeah.
And she just turned 13. And here's all these young girls her same age that are very tiny, very petite, and people seem to want to coddle them and kind of take care of them. And she kind of gets left out. They assume she can just take care of herself.
Because of her size.
Yeah. And I went through the same thing. And so I know exactly how she's feeling. And this is a really traumatic time for her. She's in 7th grade, and you're going through a lot of changes anyway. And this just makes it a little harder.
How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel?
Sometimes when I look in the mirror, I feel fat.
You feel fat, okay. What else?
I think I have bug eyes.
Bug eyes?
People do tease her and tell her that she
what
has
are
bug eyes.
eyes?
Big eyes.
They kind of
Big
stick
eyes
out
are-
a little bit.
Oh, okay, again, I thought models had big eyes. You see yourself as what? If I had to say, what do you see yourself as? What would it be?
Not pretty.
Not pretty.
See, that breaks my heart.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't
I
mind.
think she's a beautiful young lady.
But when you're that age.
When you're that
You
age.
don't.
Yeah.
When you're that age. Now, your mother says you have called yourself a pig and ugly. That's very strong. And what's happened to her marks?
Oh, her school. She has such low self-esteem. Her schoolwork it's terrible.
Have you ever been out on a date?
No.
We were talking about proms. Do you think you'll go to your prom?
Mm-mm.
You won't go to your prom? Do you think you'll ever go out on a date?
No.
You just listen to her talk.
She sits alone in her room and listens to music. She just lays on her bed. She doesn't really do much.
I did that a lot, too. Are you afraid of her going to high school?
Oh, I'm horrified. I think the reason I wanted her to come on the show and to do a makeover is she needs to have some kind of turning point in her life to make her feel good about herself and to make her feel as wonderful as everybody else.
You have a wonderful, wonderful smile. Your face lights up when you smile.
Anybody else want to say anything to her? Yes, okay.
Amanda, I just gotta tell you, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you gotta say, I'm a beautiful girl. And right now, you're too young to worry about boys. Worry about how you do in school. Because later on, you're gonna be someone. And you're gonna turn back into those kids that are bothering you, and you're gonna tell them, I am somebody. Okay?
What if we gave you a new look that you might be confident enough? Let me ask you a question, woman to woman. You ready?
Yeah.
I've always gone after what I want you to read my eyes. I've always gone after what I wanted in life, if that's a man or a job. Would you have the guts to ask a guy out?
Yeah.
Would you? I think you deserve to be beautiful. My part of it is Richard, Cynthia. They are going to do their best job.
Gorgeous.
And somehow or another we're going to get the... Uh-oh. You go with them. Go ahead.
She's only that boy's got a date here.
We'll be right back.
Coming up, you know, not all ducklings are female. This guy says that when he was in high school, he was a fat, ugly, alone person. And there was one special girl who looked past his looks and saw his inner beauty. Well, today, after 8 years, he's gonna finally get his chance to say, thank you for being my friend. And hey, look at me now. My next guest says when he was in high school, he was really an ugly duckling. He was overweight, he was lonely, and he was convinced he would never find true happiness. And he says he's finally gotten things together, and he has asked us for the opportunity to say, look at me now. Now, this is what Joe looked like back in high school. There's a picture, Joe, I gotta tell you. And take a look at Joe now. Not bad. No. What'd the French say? Pas mal, not bad. So what's with you, big boy?
Oh, God.
How bad was it?
It was bad.
See, because we think that only women feel this way.
No. No, I grew up real overweight, probably 230, 240 before I even hit high school. Went through a lot of changes, didn't feel worth anything, nothing. I didn't even want to get out of bed lots of times. Going to high school.
Is it because of the weight?
I think a lot of it was because of the weight, but also when you're a child, you're going through these changes anyway. You know, you're breaking out, you look awkward, something, you know, maybe my eyes don't look as good as, you know, Kiefer's eyes or something, and this and that. And, you know, you grow up in a society where you're supposed to look picture perfect. And
yeah,
when you look like this big, ugly blob, you don't look picture perfect, and it makes you feel horrible.
But not to the extent that you felt horrible.
Oh,
'cause he
yeah.
was depressed and suicidal and had to be hospitalized for this feeling of feeling really bad, right?
Twice.
Twice?
One of my hardest things is I grew up in schools that my authority figures didn't encourage me. I mean, the kids would make fun of you, and that's hard enough. But then you have teachers that say, boy, you're a loser. You're not going to amount to anything.
Teachers who say that?
I had a principal, I should slap your fat face. I mean, I might have been being bad, but I didn't think I was being that bad.
The principal said that to
Yeah,
you?
right in front of all the kids, too.
You think that children are bad, adults are sometimes even worse and they should know better, but they don't. And they can be just as cruel, if not worse.
Yeah, and children look up to adults. I know they don't always listen to them, but the things an authority figure says to you
means a lot.
Yeah.
So he turned to drugs and got in with the wrong crowd. And how long did you use?
all through high school.
You've changed.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
I'm 25.
How do you feel?
I feel great.
How long have you been clean?
I've been clean probably for 5-6 years.
You've been clean for 6 years. Good going. Now, you may wonder where we're going with this. There was one person that stood by you.
Yes,
Can
a
you tell-
sunshine. Oof. Well, it was a girl in high school. She was very, very intelligent. She was more or less one of the people in the smart crowd, as they always call it in high school. And she was just always a bright, energetic woman. She always helped me, like would take me, let's go, get me into like the plays, art, or whatever my interests were.
Was she a teacher there?
No, she was a friend, a peer.
A peer group, somebody your age.
Yep. And you know.
Did you ever tell her what her friendship meant?
Yeah, I did. I think she knew, you know, because I told her. Yeah, I just said, you know, Carrie, you're a great friend. You're one of the only people that, you know, I can really talk to. You make me feel good. You give me a sense of self-worth. But I don't think I told it to her enough.
You didn't. So that's what you want to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he came home from the hospital, she was the only one who really accepted him. And you haven't seen her in 8 years.
I know.
Right? So it's time to see her now, okay? Okay? How do you feel about that?
I'm excited. I'm so comfortable and happy with myself now. I just can't wait to see her. Just give her a big hug.
Okay, let's have her come on out. Joe, you got to do something very formal now. You have to tell Carrie what you've been thinking all these years. Now, you just sit still for this, Carrie.
Well, I just wanted to give you a big thanks.
Oh, Joe.
Through all a dark and gloomy high school, which you know.
Yeah, I know.
Feeling worthless, and, you know, having no self-respect for myself, you always gave me a little bit of self-worth and always said, you know, you're going to be something.
Joey,
Now look at me now.
He looks great, doesn't he, Carrie?
Oh, he's absolutely stunning.
Great.
But
Go
Joey
ahead.
was always beautiful to
Well,
me.
yes, to you.
He was always beautiful
But
to me.
not to himself. Honey.
Hi, honey. You know, some time ago in my life, I felt as though I was unattractive. But I came a long way as well as you did. And I want to tell you, you look gorgeous. You're beautiful. And as far as the guy in the white, he has a wonderful personality. I think he's great.
Yes, he does.
Absolutely. Always.
We'll be right back. Hey, we still have lots more ahead, including the new Makeover Amanda. And don't forget, Amanda's going to get the surprise of her life when the boy she has a crush on shows up and asks her out on her first date.
You are the Five. Get off my stage.
Okay, please welcome my next guest, psychologist Linda Vito, to the show. One thing I've noticed that there are a lot of scars that people carry around. Why?
Well, basically, you know, when you're a pre-adolescent and adolescent, what's happening is you're physically changing, your hormones are surging through you, it's going to make you think differently also, and then you sort of have to fit in. And it's very, very difficult. The scars stay because that's the foundation, basically, of what you're going to think about yourself for the rest of your life. And, you know, it's fascinating to me because I was listening to, you know, you speak about your daughter being 5'7" now at 13 years old. I was 5'10" at 13 years old. And at the dances, I mean, you know, I had little pillows here that the guys could rest their head against because everybody was so short. But as you were saying before, Sally, you know, one of the things that my mother told me was that you have to be the best at what you can be. And that's what your job is. It's not to listen to everybody else. And what's very important is, you know, we're talking a lot about what beauty is and what ugly is. And you know something? I have never met an ugly person. Never. I have seen ugly behaviors, but I've never seen an ugly person. And one of the things we have to tell the kids when they're growing up, our children and other children, is that you are more than just your nose, your lack of chest or your chest, your height or your knees or your elbows. And if we have to focus away basically from just about looks. Looks come and go, looks change. That sort of growing into your body at pre-adolescence and adolescence, it's very difficult. And you know, there was a gentleman in the audience said you have to be there for your daughter. You're right, you have to be there for her, but she's gonna sort of wanna push you away. She's going to want to push you away because she has to see how she's going to feel socializing with other children. But she has to do more than just care about what she looks like. It's what's inside.
How do we, for the people who put up their hands, how do we let go of those feelings?
I think you have to
How do you let it go?
Right. Well, I think to be beautiful, you have to be happy with yourself and who you are. The second thing is you have to be healthy. And being physically healthy, you know, it does a lot to us, and I really believe in that mind-body thing. And basically being physically healthy means that if you're too skinny, you're not healthy. If you're too overweight, you're not healthy. You chose fitness. I think that's absolutely wonderful, because now you're healthy, and healthy does mean beautiful.
Why do some of the nerds who become swans want revenge?
I don't know if it's so much revenge. I think they want to come out and they want to say, look, I am the same person I was before. Now I'm beautiful inside and outside.
Yeah, I never
and
wanted
you see?
revenge at all.
You didn't want revenge?
No, beauty comes from inside. It's not outside. And I just want to show and just say, hey, I'm the same person I always was, but I'm happy now and I'm healthy now and look at me now.
It's the accomplishment that they want to show.
Why did Honey need to see her father?
Well, you know, it's very interesting because in the state that, you know, where she was thinking at that time, you know, you want to be able to somehow, first of all, I think that she felt a little bit guilty that maybe, you know, her parents weren't together and she could do something about it. And children that come from, you know, split homes or whatever really feel that if they could do something to get them together. So she blamed her looks because she wasn't happy with the way that she looked. And also, sense. He's a man. And because he's a man, well, you know, that's your daddy's little girl. You want to be loved by daddy. And she figured that at that time, 13 years old, it's basically like, you know, maybe I don't like the way that I am. Maybe he's going to tell me it's okay.
One last question. Tell parents about when their children say they're ugly, and you're a mom or a dad, what do you say to your child?
Well, usually when kids are going to say they're ugly, they're never specific. And I think what's really, like, I'm ugly, I'm a dog, I'm a cow, I'm a pig, you know, that's what they're going to say. I think what you have to tell them is basically, why are you, what do you mean you're ugly? Well, I'm ugly. What makes you ugly? I have a funny nose. What's funny about it? And sort of like go with them and, you know, show them, well, you know, I want to be beautiful. Who do you want to be beautiful like? Do you want to be beautiful like Cindy Crawford? Do you want to be beautiful like Sophia Loren? Do you want to be beautiful like Beverly Johnson? Like Sally Jessy? I mean, who do you want to be beautiful like? All these people are beautiful. And there's no such thing as one beauty. It's everybody.
We also have to tell parents, be very careful of those negative comments that we make.
There should be. I'm taking for granted that, you know what, there should be no negative comments.
Not to your children, they take.
Yeah, we have a child in our household right now that she has a tendency to make fun of other children and stuff. So
right,
we just tell her that, hey, that's not what they're there for. People are beautiful. They can be your friends. It doesn't matter what they look like or anything. It doesn't matter what you look like.
Don't do it. We'll be right back. Next, the results of Amanda's makeover. And we're going to witness Amanda getting asked out on her very first date. You don't want to miss this. Do you remember 13-year-old Amanda? Amanda was depressed because she felt like an ugly duckling. And we said, okay, we're going to give her a fabulous makeover. Mother, how do you think she's going to look?
Oh, I'm just so nervous. She's beautiful anyway.
Good, Mother. All right. This is what Amanda looked like earlier. There she was when we got her. Let's see the new Amanda. Amanda, come on out. you feel, young lady?
Look good.
You feel good?
Yeah.
Good. Do you know you look absolutely beautiful? You really look beautiful. That audience would not lie to you. They really would not. Okay.
All right.
What do you think, Mom?
Oh my God, she's beautiful.
Of course she is. Absolutely. Now, what was the deal that we cut?
To ask Jeremy out.
You had to ask Jeremy out as soon as he gets back from...
Reno.
Where is Reno?
In Nevada.
Shh. Oh, boy. This is some audience. Reno, Nevada, Reno, Nevada, Reno, Nevada, Reno, Nevada.
I kind of think maybe, Amanda, I think you should just forget about Jeremy. And maybe we can go out for
You know me, a deal's a deal. Hello, Jeremy. Hi. How are you? I'm Sally. It's very nice to meet you. You're gonna have to do this.
Jeremy, I really love you. Will you please go out with me?
We'll be right back. I would like to thank my personal stylists, Richard Penna and Cynthia, for giving Amanda this wonderful makeover. And I would also like to thank TJ Maxx for providing the clothing for Amanda's new look. And I want to thank all of my guests. You all look beautiful. Dad, you got a whole new world, a whole new grandchild like I do. And we'll just see you next time.
Get off my stage!